As I said, today's talk is called The Anatomy of a Debrief. There are many steps involved in the decision to attend the debrief. For some of you, the decision was completely voluntary, and for some, you were directed by your employer to attend the debrief or strongly encouraged, and maybe coming even though you believe that it's not the best use of your time right now. Of course, all of you would rather be at home with your family or loved ones than coming to an event like a defuse or a debrief. However, once you make the decision to drive here and you've decided to walk into the room, it's important to understand what is happening to your body. Initially, with the decision, there may be an increase in anxiety, there may be an increase in heart rate, respiration, and it may be felt as a kind of nervousness, or it may be felt as a kind of annoyance. However you arrive at a diffuse or a debrief, it's perfectly okay. The important thing is that you show up. Of course, the next step is entering the room and sitting down. And once you enter the room, in a way, you're entering into a different kind of, well, potential. Because the team is at an arm's length distance from all the services, meaning we do not make any reports. Once you enter the room for a debrief, there's a level of confidentiality that begins to be in place. You may feel that when you come in and sit down. You may not. You may be more interested in saying hello to friends that you've known for years. You might be interested or curious about some of the other first responders in the room that you don't know. But there is a sense that this is different from your work environment. And to the degree that your body understands that, your body is going to begin to enter what is called the green stage, or the rest and digest phase. Now, this isn't simply a metaphor. We know that the body changes when it enters this phase. The process is facilitated by the vagus nerve, and the vagus nerve is a nerve that runs from the bottom of the brainstem all the way down to your tailbone. And all the major organs are connected to it. The lymph nodes are connected to it. The adrenal system is connected to it. And when we allow ourselves to feel safe, when we allow ourselves to feel the safety of where we are, our body will go into this green phase and will start the process of healing our body. More of that later. So we sit down, and then the diffuse debrief will start. And the leader will invite everyone to introduce themselves and to say what their role was in the incident that led to the debrief. When we ask you to state your role, that is the beginning of you telling your story. Again, it's important that it be in a safe place. It's important that it is not an operational review. It is important to trust that no one is going to be talking about your experience to someone else. We strongly ask that you only talk about your own experience. During the diffuse or debrief, as well as when you're talking to others. What you hear anyone else say in this room, other than the facilitators, should stay in the room completely. And the more we can do this together, the safer the place will feel, the more your body will begin the process of taking care of itself. We ask you to speak only of your experience during the debrief, because when you talk about somebody else's experience, it may start to sound like an operational review, and we do not want this to be anything like an operational review. The only thing to say about someone else's experience is if you want to show some appreciation or validation for the role they played and the role they just described to you. Don't comment on something that you saw that person do outside of what they shared in the room. That is up to them. Only share your own story. Even if you remain silent, you're not going to completely lose the benefit of the talking. You're going to be listening quietly to others. And something quite important happens when we are sitting calmly and listening to someone else tell the story about the incident. There's a part of our anatomy, there's a part in our brain that begins to generate hormones that create a sense of compassion. I mean, the physiological sense we will equate to when we express compassion. We now know that the brain has a collection of neurons that propel us toward others, that compel us towards compassion. So even if you remain silent, you will be experiencing this. And certainly those that are talking and speaking about their own experience are going to notice that when you look around the room, you're seeing your colleagues listen to your story. And that is healing for the body. So when you listen to another colleague talking about their experience, it is important from time to time to look over, nod, or show any nonverbal form of support to them, because then they will actually notice this as they're talking and they will feel your support. In some debriefs where the room is quite large and there may be 30 or 40 or 50 people attending, we do modify the process so that it doesn't run into several hours. We found that one debrief that ran almost to 3 hours, it was pretty exhausting for everyone. So we do try to keep it to within 2 hours. So when there's a lot of people in the room, we often do the first step, which is what I've described, where you talk about your experience. And then we go into some teaching. Now, in the phase where you're hearing the team talk about different strategies for taking care of yourself, that's when you might decide if you're going to try anything that's being suggested. And I think my experience over the last many years has taught me that we need to find the right tool for ourselves. And that's why you'll find in the debrief, team members will be making many, many different suggestions in terms of what to look for in yourself, what to look for in your colleagues, that may be indicators of distress. But ultimately, it comes down to you to make the decision to follow through with any particular plan. Now, if I'm doing the teaching, you're going to hear me strongly encourage some form of sitting down and breathing slowly. Now, that probably sounds like meditation, and certainly meditation involves sitting down and breathing slowly, no question about that. The many forms of meditation can take you into other directions as well. But what science has shown us is that when we sit down and breathe slowly, we are telling our body directly that we are safe, that our body can go into the green zone and begin the healing that takes place in the green zone. Like I said, I'm going to talk about that soon. The important point to remember is that breathing is the only autonomic process most people can consciously control. Think about it. You know, we can hold our breath, and as kids, we're often trying to see who can hold their breath the longest. Inevitably, we have to breathe. We cannot not breathe. But this control gives us an incredible possibility. This breathing slowly activates what is called the autonomic nervous system. And I mentioned earlier the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is part of it, and it controls the parasympathetic nerves as well as the sympathetic nerves. When we breathe in slowly, however, it encourages the parasympathetic part of the vagus nerve to send signals to the major organs, cervical nerves, thoracic nerves, and lumbar nerves, as well as the major organs, lung, heart, adrenals, etc. It tells them that we are safe. And because we are safe, we can sort of give up one of our dominant natural tendencies, the tendency to see things in a negative light. Research has shown that we tend to be 3 times more likely, some even say 6 times more likely, as in this little diagram, to interpret things negatively. Now, that is kind of understandable given that for by far the greater part of our existence, millions of years as opposed to the last 10 or 15,000, life was extremely harsh. And there was something dangerous around every corner that could harm or, in fact, kill us. So we tended to develop this tendency to see things as negative until we could somehow be assured that things weren't negative. Now, it's interesting because all of you walk into situations that normally everybody else would run away from. Or, you know, if you're wanting to take care of yourself, you would run away from. You've got training to deal with that. That's why your training is so important, because you override your normal tendency to avoid danger. However, those memories and that experience and the impact on your body doesn't go away, because even though you've got training to do what you're doing, your body goes into the yellow zone, and if you don't take care of yourself, your body could go into the red zone. So we want you to stay in the green zone, and that is why we teach first responders box breathing. And simply put, this is sitting down, taking a slow breath, and it can help if you count out slowly to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you exhale similarly, you inhale counting to 4, and doing that for at least 5 minutes can dramatically help the body to return to the green zone. So we encourage you to use this before or even during stressful events if it's possible. It's helpful for a pre-sleep bedtime routine, reduces stress, promotes calm, and it actually improves mental focus and improves mood. So there are a lot of benefits from doing this simple activity. And that's why we teach it to first responders. Feeling safe is crucial. Breathing in and out can give us, for a short period of time, the ability to be present. We can enter what is referred to as the green zone. We can help our bodies feel safe. In this state, we are facilitating not just our physical well-being, but our emotional and social well-being. Simply put, we enjoy life. So please take away the potential benefit from breathing back into the green zone, so that when you return home, you leave behind you the stress and tribulations of the incident, indeed your work environment, and you can be present with your family, your loved ones, and they can have you. So please practice breathing slowly. And for anyone who wants more information on meditation, you can contact me, or you can go to the resources on the team's website. Thank you, be well, and be safe.